Okay, cool. Alright, so we're going to cover this rational decision-making worksheet. So it's on marginal benefit and marginal cost, and it's an important skill that you guys need to know in the context of marginal analysis. We're going to work through the first table one cell at a time, and then we'll move on to the second table. So remember, I told you guys that the second table has some mistakes in it. Okay, we're going to fix those mistakes. We're going to fill the rest of the cells in, and then we're going to have a go at answering these questions 1 to 8. Some of these questions I won't actually write out answers for. I will simply explain one way to answer those questions, and then I want you guys to have a go at writing those answers again yourself if you got them wrong the first time, or if you got them right the first time, think about ways you can improve your answer. Okay? Alright, first up, you've got a table which shows the number of doctors that economy or an economy chooses to hire, the total benefits of those doctors as well as the total costs of those doctors. There is an empty column on the right side which has net benefits. So remember, an equation that is very useful to know is net benefits is equal to total benefits take total cost. So that's the first equation that you need to know for today. So we're going to work through this real quick. So first it's going to be 0, 0 take 0 is 0, then we'll go 100 take 60 is 40, and then we'll work our way down as we go along. So what's that, 70, and that is 60, and that's 40. Alright, so can I get you to please check your numbers, see whether they line up with what you've got. Alright, so we've now calculated the net benefits. What can you say about this cell in particular? So what can you tell me about the level of net benefits of that cell compared to all the other cells that you see in front of you? What do you think? Is it really low? Yes. Yeah, it's the highest, yeah? So it is the cell which has the highest net benefit, and we are going to jump back to that in a second. Alright, now that we've calculated the net benefits cell, we want to move down to the table at the bottom, and that has not only the number of doctors the economy wants to hire, but as well as the marginal benefits and the marginal cost of each additional 100 doctors. So at this point, the economy hires 10, this point the economy hires 100, 200, 300, and so on. So the increments, if you wanted to write that down, is 100. So the increments for every step is 100. Okay, so we'll fill the table out. So we start off with 0 benefits from 0 doctors. Then when we increase the number of doctors to 100, the marginal benefit is 100. Where do we get that from? We look at the table earlier over here. We have a look at the change in total benefits from 100 doctors, and we take away the amount of benefit from the number of doctors in the previous line. Okay, so you're going 100 minus 0, and that gives you 100 minus 0, and that gives you 100. That's how you get that cell. Now we want to move on to the cell down below. What is the marginal benefit? What is the incremental benefit of moving from 100 doctors to 200 doctors? So again, the increment is an additional 100 doctors. What is the marginal benefit, or what is the benefit of those extra doctors? We go back to the table over here. Instead of taking 0 from 100, we take 100 from 180 now. So we'll be talking over here about this step. So the change is from 100 to 180, so we write down 180, take 100, and that gives us 80. That is the marginal benefit, or that's the benefit of those additional 100 doctors. So that is incorrect. So we'll change that over there. The next step, we're moving from 180 to 250 because we're moving from 200 to 300 doctors. What is the marginal benefit to that? We can put that over there. Go 250 minus 180, and that gives us 70. Okay, so that is the process you need to do for each cell, for each row, to calculate the marginal benefit of each increase in the doctors employed. Alright, so 100, 80, 70. If you want to go from 300 to 400, total benefits moves from 250 to 300. What's the difference between those two? It's 50. If you're moving from 400 to 500, what's the difference between 300 and 340? That is 40. So if you need to make any adjustments, please do. With the marginal cost, that's a lot more straightforward, because all you need to do is put down how much 100 doctors costs. And we know that 100 doctors costs $60 million each time. So each time we increase the amount of doctors by 100, it goes to 60, 60, 60. Yeah, and that's why the marginal cost is 60, 60, and 60. Alright, so that is the two tables filled out. Alright, so we're going to move on to the questions now. Does anyone have any questions about the table before we move on? Alright, guess not. So we'll start with question number 1. At what level, which is the number of doctors, is net benefit maximized? So Samika has already helped us with that. So it was the point at which net benefits over here is the highest. So it's not 0, not 40, not 60, it is 70. And after 70 it starts to drop off. So you want to find out the number of doctors which corresponds to this cell. So you go across and it is 300. So in economics it's really important that you put down the units. So if you put down 300, you might not get the mark. So you need to put down 300 doctors. Next question. Explain why allocating 400 or 500 doctors would be an inefficient allocation of resources. So remember, efficient allocation of resources means that net benefit is maximized. So if I wanted to put down over here, this is the point. So up here at 300 doctors, this is the point where the economy is efficient, or is being efficient. So that means any point after the economy is not as well off as it was when they hired 300 doctors, because the net benefit's falling. It's no longer 70, it's now 60, and it's even fallen to 40 when we try and hire more doctors. So maybe the hospitals are really crowded, maybe the doctors just don't get along with each other, they've got big personalities, and that reduces their efficiency. Whatever the reason is, the benefits from those additional doctors isn't worth the cost. Alright, so that is number 2. Number 3, explain why 300 doctors is a better choice than 200 doctors. Same concept again. The reason is because as we move from 200 to 300, the net benefit of that choice is higher. So the net benefit is not 60, it is now 70. And the whole idea behind marginal analysis is to reach a point where net benefit is the highest. Okay, so those are questions 1 to 3. So now we want to move on to the table below. So question number 4, what are marginal benefits? So we have written down definitions for that, so those should be pretty straightforward. So number 4 and number 5, I'll read out real quick what I've put down. So marginal benefit is the extra benefit you receive from an extra unit of goods and services. So that extra doctor, what's the benefit? Marginal cost is the extra cost you incur for that additional unit of good or service. So just keep in mind, a unit might not necessarily mean just one. It might be 100. It might be 200. So make sure you keep that in mind. You might not be able to buy. So you usually can't buy one Tim Tam. You can buy a Tim Tam packet. So the marginal benefit of Tim Tams would need to be measured in packets rather than Tim Tams themselves. Yeah, so it's not only just 1 or 2, so you've got to keep that in mind. Okay, so we've done number 6, we've completed the table. So why are marginal benefits declining as more doctors are employed? And the last one, using the concepts of MB and MC, so that's just shortened ways of saying that. Explain why the choice of 400 or 500 doctors is not an efficient choice. I want you guys to have a go at answering that yourself. So a lot of you have already, and a lot of you have uploaded those to Google Classroom. For those of you who have not, can you please do that, and then I can mark it, because these questions will require a lot more explanation and detail, and I would like to have you try first, and then I'll give you feedback. Alright, any other questions before we close? Nope. Alright, we are done.